so yeah, moving into cricket, I started building a player database. After this is all after the sort of trying to contact like tennis players and stuff like that. And yeah, I love cricket as a sport as well, so it seemed like a really good fit. So I built player databases, and just as I was doing that, I kind of was watching more and more and more on cricket on TV and stuff, and realised that teams were making suboptimal decisions so often, and commentators kind of were blissfully unaware of it, or willingly not calling them out on it, kind of thing as well. And there was a lot of like misconceptions. So like a guy might be perceived by a commentator to be a devastating boundary hitter as a finisher or something like that, and then I'll go through my database and see he's hit like 10% of ball space or boundaries in the last 3 years, which is way below average. So there's a lot of misconceptions, and maybe a lot of what you might call, what they call it a lot, is called gambler's fallacy. So it's what it means is that the human mind has a tendency to remember more notable events than non-notable events. So if a player, for example, like if he hit like 60 off 25 balls to win a match from an impossible position for his team 10 years ago, people will still remember that. But they don't remember the fact that he's hit 10% of ball space or boundaries in the last 3 years. Yeah. So yeah, it's like it's a mistake that the human mind makes quite a lot. And so yeah, I started doing that, and just became increasingly obvious that teams were making quite big strategic errors. And I thought I would build something to try and address those issues. But yeah, I mean, the problem is that the door's like almost locked shut with regards to working with T20 teams worldwide. And that's a major issue. I mean, I can remember I must have sent hundreds of emails and LinkedIn messages to pretty much every coach, owner, director of cricket, general manager that I could possibly find details for. Yeah. And I probably got a reply to about 5% of the messages I sent. Wow. So yeah, and even then, the answer was like, thanks, but no thanks, pretty much always as well.
Right. And was that sort of quite recently in the last couple of years, or was that more when T20 boomed in the last sort of, say, 10 years ago?
No, it's not so far back as that. So this is all really 2-3 years ago, probably, I would say, that most of that took place. So yeah, I mean, you can see that it's really, really difficult to get roles with teams. And even though I've got a few consultancy roles with teams, I don't think the landscape has changed a great deal with regards to general uptake in it. I think even though coaches, teams in general have become more open to the usage of data, I think that still data analytics is got a long way to go before it has a dramatic disruptive impact on the cricket world, really.
Right. Okay. And within cricket, you mentioned you've worked with a few teams. So who are a couple of the teams that you've, I guess, been able to work with? And I guess, are you an external consultant that comes in just for one tournament, or what does a relationship usually look like?
Yeah. So yeah, external consultant a lot of the time. So sometimes I've worked with quite a few English counties. So what they might do is they might give me a bespoke demand. So they might say, okay, well, I want to look at particular type of overseas player, for example, like a spin all-rounder for the sake of argument, and then they'll say, okay, well, I want him to be able to bat in the top 6 or top 7, but have, for example, decent bowling numbers, high expectations to perform well in England, stuff like that. And then I'll be able to apply filters to databases and look at and model some expected data as well to give them a short list of players that then they can find. They can perform some more due diligence on. So they might want to look at, say, personality traits or just then it's down to them after that. If I give them, like I say, a short list of 6 players, then they can do their own work after that. There's other ways as well. So I've been doing some strategic planning for teams as well. So assessing their own squad and the mistakes that they've been making over the last few years, and then looking to sort of give them drivers and targets to hit next year, kind of thing. That was for the T20 Blast, and obviously that was supposed to take place in the next month or so. So looking at where they failed, where they've done well, how they can address that, what targets that they need to hit based on the numbers of qualifying teams in the past, stuff like that. So there's a lot of work that goes into that, and also some advanced scouting as well. So I might do like a dossier on an opponent, looking at their strengths and weaknesses, the venue strengths, weaknesses, stuff like that. So looking at whether you should go in there with a lot of spinners, whether the effects of winning the toss, which players on the opposition are weak against pace, which players are weak against spin, stuff like that, and a complete overview and looking at some tactics for them as well. Teams I've worked with Birmingham, Phoenix in the 100. So I'm data insights manager there. Obviously, although the tournament hasn't been played yet, and obviously it's been postponed to next season, the draft took place at the end of last year, and I did a lot of work for them with regards to draft strategy. Looked at a number of areas such as player analysis, sort of desired skill sets of the players we were targeting, and trying to model what a new format might look like. Because I think that's quite underappreciated as well. No one's played this format of 100 balls yet, so what's it going to be like? Is it going to be more like T20? Is it going to be more like T10? No one really knows yet. So trying to provide some insight in that area was something that I thought was really important as well. Other teams like English County, I don't really tend to publicise the teams that I work with, but a few listeners might have read the Cricketer article recently where I featured about Matt Milnes and his rise at Kent. So I got credit for recommending him to them. At the point that I recommended him to them, he hadn't actually played a first team match for Notts. He was at Notts previously, but I was able to model his second team numbers to show that he had considerable upside as a young player with ability. One season later, he's taken more than 50 wickets in Division 1 in red ball cricket. I think it was the highest English wicket taker in Division 1. Wow. And he's got called up for England Lions as well. So seeing a guy you recommend from the second team somewhere, and in one season, the improvement that they've made is just fantastic for job satisfaction, really.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to check out more of our content, go to sporttechdaily.com or follow us on social media across Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.